This is the second part of the review for our CFA coming up on Wednesday and Thursday in Algebra 2. And this is the part where we're looking at transformation form of functions. And I had already filmed this video, but I felt like the resolution was too small and not clear enough, so I'm going to go ahead and redo it. But I've already made all the markings, so bear with me. On number 2, it says, how can the graph of the function g of x equals cube root of x be shifted in order to produce the graph of f of x equals negative 4 times cube root of x minus 2 minus 7. So what we're going to be looking at is transformation form here. Now the original one, right here, cube root of x, that is your parent cube root function. Remember, every function has a parent function, and that's the function in its most basic form. Your a value is 1, your h and k values are 0. It's as simple as it gets. So this is the parent function. The function we're looking at is negative 4 times the cube root of x minus 2 minus 7. So the question is, when I look at this function as opposed to the parent function, what transformations have occurred and what changes have happened? So, the first question asks, is this reflection? Is this going to be a reflection? And the answer to that is yes. And the reason that is yes is because your a value is negative 4. Whenever your a value is negative, that indicates that a reflection is happening with the function. So since we have a negative 4 for an a value, that negative says yes, it is reflected. Now the a value is greater than 1, and whenever the a value is greater than 1, the function is being stretched as opposed to compressed. So it's going to have a vertical stretch by a factor of 4. So you don't put the stretch as a factor of negative 4. The negative just tells you whether it's reflected or not reflected. The actual stretch factor is just the constant itself without the sign. It's always positive. Then we're going to look at our h and k values. Remember, h is our horizontal movement, left and right, and k is our vertical movement. If you look down here, I have the transformation form of a cubic. A is the cube root of x minus h plus k. So x minus h, that means h is whatever is being subtracted under the radical. Well, rule of thumb, since h is what's being subtracted, h is always the opposite of the sign inside. Because if I have x minus 2 inside, that means I'm subtracting a positive 2. So my h value is 2. If I look at a function like this, where I have x plus 3, that means that my h value is negative 3, because in order for me to get x plus 3, I have to be subtracting negative 3. So the h value is whatever is subtracted, and here's an example of that right here. So because the h value is 2, that means that this function is moved 2 units to the right from the original parent function. And my k value is the same, and it keeps the same sign. My k value is going to be negative 7, which means that it's going to actually move down. Oops, made a mistake there. It's going to move down. The k value is negative 7, so you're just going to move down. So your point of inflection is 2, negative 7. And remember, your inflection point is the point on the graph where the graph changes direction or changes behavior. So that's the inflection point. So if I were looking at a cubic function, for example, if I drew one down here, if I look at a function like this, that's your inflection point. That's where the function changes direction and changes behavior. So let's look at the second one. I have 2 is my a value, positive, so there is no reflection. It's positive, and it's going to stretch vertically by a factor of 2. So that's got your stretch, and that's all, again, based on your a value. It's x plus 3, so it's going to be minus 3. That's your h value, which means it's going to move to the left 3 units, okay? Now, I put negative 3 in there, but you don't have to put a negative because it's asking how many units, but I went ahead and put the negative in there anyway to help you out. Your k value is 1, so it's going to move up 1 unit because it's positive 1. Therefore, your inflection point is negative 3, 1. The last one is f of x equals cube root of x minus 7. So is it going to be reflected? The answer is no. The a value is positive 1, so it's not going to be reflected. The vertical stretch is 1. There is no stretch. When the a value is 1, there is no stretch or compression. And then 0 is your h value because there's nothing underneath. That's the same thing as saying x minus 0. So that means we're not going to move left or right from the original, from the parent. We're going to be in the same spot. No moving left or right. As far as up and down, your k value is negative 7, which means we are going to move down 7 units. So your inflection point is at 0, negative 7. And so that is how you determine the transformations based on your parent function and your new function.